Good afternoon. When I last spoke with everyone, we were still in the midst of finalizing our plan. Those of you that aren't familiar, last Wednesday, the board approved a plan in which a municipal ballot would be printed and it would be sent out. We now have that municipal ballot. It will be available for everyone to see. As was described at the Board of Supervisors meeting, there is a large orange band that runs across the top. It is clearly distinguishable from the ordinary ballot that would be sent, which has a small band on the top top right corner. These municipal-only ballots were finalized being printed on Friday. Saturday, they were sent in the mail, and today they were hand-delivered to each of our various voting sites. So effective now, impacted voters can go to their local voting site and they can pick up the municipal-only ballot, or if you are on the active early voter list, this will automatically be sent to your residence. I cannot stress this enough. If you live in any of the 7 impacted municipalities, you must fill out both of these ballots. If you only fill out the ballot on my right, you will only be casting a vote in your municipal elections. If you only cast a vote on the ballot to my left, you will only be voting for federal, state, county, and state legislative races. If you want to vote in both races in the impacted jurisdictions, you must fill out 2 separate ballots. Those of you that are on the active early voting list, this will automatically be sent to you. Those of you that went in early and voted, you will need to return to that site to fill out the municipal-only ballot. Those of you that vote from today moving forward or on election day when you walk in, if you're in those 7 impacted jurisdictions, you will be provided both of these ballots. Now, I know I gave you a lot of information. Really, that's sort of the update, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
How has it been going? I know that you said that there is going to be a big push and there's a lot to be done in terms of training poll workers and making sure you have plenty. How is that preparation for August 2nd going?
It's went as well as we could hope for. We are working on having county employees fill in some of those additional spots that are required. I know our community public relations team has an entire process put forward to get this information out, including ads in local newspapers, a social media push. This is a big step because, unfortunately, as hard as we've pushed, we've had a lot of people that still have questions. Daily, I get emails. Daily, I know our supervisors are receiving emails saying, what about this? What about me? What about this situation? So really what we're doing right now is doing our best to get information out. We also have information on our website. So it has went well, but it's not perfect yet.
I know that you also said that you wanted to give time for candidates that might not be happy with this plan or might legally want to challenge it, give them time to act. Has that happened? Have you heard any expression of not being happy with this plan?
So we were subject to a lawsuit. That lawsuit was ultimately dismissed. A federal candidate for a congressional seat filed. After reviewing what we did and the steps we've taken to try and remediate the underlying issues, that candidate chose to voluntarily withdraw and dismiss their lawsuit. I've only personally heard or anecdotally heard from local municipal race candidates, people running for city council. Most of them seem to be satisfied with our solution. I wouldn't go as far as to say they're happy, but they understand the decision that we made and they're supportive given the limited options that we had.
What's your message to voters about the integrity of the election? There's a lot of rumors flying and certain people have concerns.
I would reiterate that this is human error. There's nothing wrong with the system. There's nothing wrong with our voting machines. This was simply a person who made a typographical error. I think we're all human. Everyone's made a mistake before. This just happened to fall under the perfect set of circumstances because the municipal-only races are less trying to think the best way to put this. So there is a logic and analysis test that we do, and the other test, because the Secretary of State's office is involved, is a much more robust testing. The municipal races aren't as robustly tested. This is only municipally impacted error, and we actually did a test, but 2 of our municipalities were not impacted. It just happened that the test we ran happened to be on the unaffected municipalities. So there's nothing wrong with the integrity. The only problem we'll have is if people vote only for this or only for this. Provided voters show up and they vote, we have mechanisms in place to make sure that there's not double voting. We have mechanisms in place for those that erroneously cast a municipal ballot that they should not have. We have the ability, and our machines have the ability to ensure that that is not counted. So we have robust protocols in place to ensure that the integrity of the election is not going to be questioned.
Kent,
I was going to ask you,
last week
all
you
the-
described that this was the best decision and the best solution. How did you come to that solution?
We sat down as a team, including our election professionals. We brought outside consultants in, and we looked at what the options were, and we looked at what the ramifications were if we went down any particular avenue. Ultimately, we determined that this would have the least impactful, negative impactful decision or impact on our various candidates and our various cities. Every other decision that we explored would have had a significant and detrimental impact on either voters or on the individual candidates. This was that middle road solution that really allowed both to maintain their full voting rights, but also a fair election for those candidates that are running in the impacted elections.
I was going to ask you, all eyes are on the state of Arizona because of the election coming up. So many will look at this and say, you know, it's already starting. You know, there's going to be issues. What do you say to that?
We welcome as much oversight as you can possibly provide to us. We've had an absolutely open process thus far. Those of you that weren't here at our Board of Supervisors meeting, our board, I think wisely, chose not to have everything done in executive session. All of our conversations could have been kept very quiet. We could have came out with a solution and said, this is it, deal with it. Instead, there was a question and answer segment. There were a lot of questions that were asked by audience members, by board members, where we answered those questions. We welcome oversight. We have offered to any of the impacted municipalities, if they request a hand count, we're willing to do a hand count. Our process, again, is open. All of these ballots are under video surveillance once they come in the counting. We had a robust L&A session just last week where we sent it out on social media, which we've never done before, and we had more people show up than we typically would. So we've done everything we can to open the book, so to speak, and allow people to see everything.
Now that there's 2 ballots, do you expect it'll take longer to release final results, and any kind of, going off of that, any additional steps to kind of just triple check that they've all been counted correctly?
It will take a little bit longer, but not significantly longer. You'll notice that they're very distinguishable. So our machines, the machine that's designed to read this ballot will not read this ballot. It would be called outstacked. If we tried to run it through that machine, it would kick it out to the side, and it would sit out to the side where we would retrieve it and go put it in a different machine. We have 3 machines that count. We have 2 for this ballot. We have 1 for this ballot. The question was, would it delay things? A little bit, but we're talking a matter of minutes, not hours, not days, nothing like that. Again, our county management has decided that we're going to throw additional resources, so we'll have more manpower than we would traditionally have to make sure that everything is being properly processed. So we do not anticipate any extended delay in the results.
Can I do a follow-up to that question? This is the first we've seen these as well. So with what she just asked,
You need to stand on the mic.
I'm just asking Kent, and I'll go to the mic later. Unless you wanted asked on the mic. So I was going to ask. So this is the first I've seen of these ballots as well. I'm at my kitchen table, and I've got both ballots, and I stuff one in the wrong envelope. Then what happens? How do they know? We're still going to need a lot of hands-on human eyes to match them back up where they're supposed to be, correct?
We will have human eyes that do actually match things up and make sure that they are in fact accurate. We have people that check every signature as well. They compare it to the signature that's on that ballot with your known signature that's already there. So we will have those additional resources that will be available and working. In fact, there was an email that went out today. I believe we're going to have upwards of 100 workers that are specifically tasked with addressing these underlying issues.
Is there a lot of additional expense for additional ballots, more staff, potential more hand counts? How much is this all going to cost?
Yes, there is significant additional cost. But the county has made the determination as it was our fault. It wasn't a vendor's problem. It was not a machine problem. It was human error, a human employee, that the county is not going to essentially pinch pennies and cause concerns with the election. So I believe the count is north of $100,000 and running, but we don't have a final tabulation determined quite yet.
Do you have a number of how many ballots, this impacted initially?
The first number I heard was 63,000. I don't know that that number has ever been materially changed. So again, it's 7 municipalities, the towns of Queen Creek, Apache Junction, Casa Grande, Maricopa, Mammoth, Superior, and Eloy.
Was there any element of, staff turnover or staffing shortages that led to the human error?
There was a recent change in staff at the elections department. Whether that is the direct result, we don't know. Our intention is once the election is done, we'll do what we call a hot wash. We'll do a full investigation to find out what happened and to make sure we put redundancies in place to ensure that it doesn't happen further. But there was a recent change and a recent appointment of a new elections director that immediately preceded this problem.
What happened to the individual, one of the questions in the newsroom, what happened to the individual who caused this error?
We still need them. We're still working to correct the underlying error. Again, it was a typographical error, I think, that many of us have unfortunately made. Anybody who's perhaps typed a story and got the I and the E backwards in the word friend, it's really that simple. It's a mistake that happens. Again, we are looking at what the county's fault in this is, but at this point, it has been isolated, it has been identified, and this isn't the time where we make rash decisions. Instead, we come together as a community to make sure that we solve this issue and we have a clean election moving forward.
Do you know how many registered voters there are in the county?
I believe there are over 200,000 ballots that will be either mailed out or cast.
I know you mentioned the legal challenge that was withdrawn this weekend. Do you anticipate that after the election is over that there could be candidates who lose who file challenges then?
Unfortunately, anybody can sue for any reason. Again, we believe that we've put forward the best possible plan that does the best to address the underlying issue. If they sue, we're prepared to stand before a court, stand before a judge and say, this is what we did, this is why we did it, and let the chips fall where they may. It'd be pure conjecture at this point if we think we're going to get sued, but it wouldn't shock me, particularly as a number of these races are probably going to be very, very close.
And it's just the 7 municipalities that were impacted that will be getting the 2 ballots, so the other 2 will still just be getting 1.
That is correct. So the city of Florence and the city of Coolidge were not impacted. So their 1 ballot contains all of the appropriate races on it. So there will only be 1 ballot, as well as everybody else in the non-municipal parts of the county. About 50% of our population is in the county, about 50% is outside of the county. So that 50% outside of the county will only be receiving 1 ballot because they have no municipal elections to vote on.
I want to address something from about 4 questions ago about the integrity. There's really no advantage. Since all of these municipal elections are nonpartisan, it's not Democrat against Republican. It's equally messed up for everyone. So that's not a good way to look at it, but unfortunately that's the way it is. So not one side did not gain an advantage. It is equally messed up on both sides. So.
Sheriff Flynn, can we get a comment from you about what you think about this?
Well, it's messed up. I mean, it's obviously not what the county designed to do. Human error happens, and we do the best we can to make the best of the situation that's at hand, and I think the county has done that. Like Kent mentioned, they were as open as possible with it. As many of you know, I'm very big on election integrity this time around. We've taken a lot of measures. We are reviewing video of people putting ballots in boxes. We want to make sure that nobody is putting more ballots than they're supposed to. We're encouraging people to become educated on what the state laws are as it relates to voting. We are also ensuring that in this particular case, we're going to take whatever precautions, and we, the sheriff's office, are going to help the county to give the most peace of mind to the voters that we can. I wish we could say this never happened, but that's not going to do any good. We can't go back and change it. From here, we can just move forward and do the best we can.
Any kind of safety protocols you're putting in place for election day? You probably heard the Maricopa County Sheriff has told all his staff, nobody's allowed vacation time over the election period, just to have all hands on deck. Anything you guys are doing?
Yeah, we want to help as much as possible. We don't want anybody being bullied into, because of their political ideologies. And make no mistake, look, I think fraud has existed on both parties. Everybody's guilty. We're trying to corral that and get back to where the voter can believe in the vote again and know that their vote matters in their community and in their country. And so we're doing the best we can within what my parameters are as a sheriff, and helping the county do that. And I've honestly been pleased with the county attorney and the board of supervisors and how quickly the county has risen to the occasion to fix the issue that clearly we didn't want.
My question is for Ken. You said that it's very important that people fill out both ballots. Those ballots are could probably have races that they shouldn't, or will have some left out, but they should still fill out the whole ballot. Is that correct?
That is correct. So I'm going to call it the federal ballot just for ease of conversation. On your federal ballot, if you live outside of the municipal area, but you have one of the affected cities' addresses, there's a chance that you would have the mayoral race and potentially a city council race. Even if you vote on that portion of it and you submit it, we have the technology and we have the machine that'll actually just not report that out. So we will not count that vote. You do not harm anybody. So if you got your ballot, you filled it all out, and you've already sent it in, it's fine. There's no harm. However, if you send it out and you still want your vote to count, and it should have counted, and maybe your ballot was correct, if you live in one of those municipalities, we are not going to be counting that vote on the back, because I can't distinguish who actually cast this ballot, and I can't determine or establish whether you're the person that should have or should not have voted. So if you want to vote on municipal race, you must cast a ballot on this with the bright orange bar across the top. Again, it doesn't matter if it's sent in the mail to you. It doesn't matter if you go in early to vote or if you go in on voting day. If you want to vote for your local municipal race and you're one of those impacted cities, you must vote on a ballot that has the large orange bar across the top.
And that supplemental ballot will be different depending on where you live, if you're in one of those impacted areas.
That is correct. So this municipal ballot here is for the town of Mammoth. You'll notice there is only one. There are various jurisdictions that have home rule propositions, that have mayoral, that have city council races, town council races. So the orange bar across the top will be the same. It'll still say muni only, but the contents will be a little bit different for those 7 impacted jurisdictions.
There was lots of concern at the County Board of Supervisors meeting about getting the word out, and also to people that left here and cast their ballot. How has that been going?
Well, first, you're all here, so I want to thank everybody for being here, genuinely, because you're part of our process of getting the word out. We have been contacted by people that have left. They have until July 22nd. They can request this municipal-only ballot to be sent to them, so we've got about a week left. If they reach out, we can get that sent to them wherever they are. We're working as diligently as possible. We've rerouted our 411 number here at the county, so if you call elections, we're able to give you those answers and get that information to you. So there's been a lot of one-on-one communication, but there's also been a lot of systematic information push, and this is just one of the large steps in our attempt to reach all of the impacted voters.
And is that who they should call? How should they reach out? Who should they reach out to?
If they have a question, reach out to our elections department or our recorder's office. We have a team that's in place that can answer those questions. Again, this is a very individualized question. I live here. I'm in the city limits, I'm outside of the city limits. What do I need to do? We've thrown a lot of information at you. If people are confused, if they're not sure, call us. Look on our website, because we have it all there. And if you're still not satisfied, give us a call and we'll have a human kind of walk you through the process.
How do you ensure this doesn't happen again? Like, do you have enough staff in elections? Do you do more robust logic and accuracy testing? What do you do going forward?
So the county has authorized a number of additional resources, additional bodies, additional finances. So for this election, we're not concerned. How we're going to make sure this doesn't happen in the 2024 and ongoing elections, that'll be part of that hot wash that I described earlier, where we're going to take an actual analysis. We're going to look at it, we're going to do an investigation, and we're going to look at where we failed. Was it a single point of failure? Were there multiple points of failure? And how can we build a robust network to make sure it doesn't happen again? We're committed to fixing the problem, find out what went wrong and fixing it moving forward. But right now our focus is on getting this information. All hands are on deck to make sure this election goes smoothly and we push the information out.
This was because of human error, but ballot design. Is it true that you're outsourcing for the November election for ballot design?
That's the first I've heard of that. I don't believe, that's the first time that I've heard that information provided.
So you're not sure, or are you making it in-house?
To my knowledge, we're doing it in-house. I've heard no discussion about outsourcing this. We have the expertise in-house. We have the redundancies put in place. The mistake was made. It's the same system going out afterwards. Outsourcing at this point does not seem like it would make any sense. We prefer to keep it in-house so we can make sure that it's transparent. If we outsource it, the public, the media, not everybody gets the same input to see the same eyes. So our intention is to keep it in-house unless we determine that we're unable to do so. And at this point, that determination has not been made.
Could you mail in one ballot and then vote in person on the second ballot? Or do you have to mail both and vote in person for both?
You can come in person. There's no prohibition. Even if it's mailed to you, you can come in, you can drop this off at our voting sites. You can take it in, you can drop it off on the day of the election. A lot of people like to do that. They like to get their ballots beforehand. They like to look at it. They like to research the individual candidates. They like to sleep on their decision, talk with their family, their loved ones, and make a decision. And then on the day of the election, they'll walk in and drop it off. And that is perfectly acceptable. We actually encourage people to do that as well.
Our assessor, Mr. Wolf, requested that we let people know where they can track their ballots. So my.arizona.vote.
Is it my?
My.arizona.vote.
My dot?
My Arizona.
My Arizona.
My.arizona.vote.
Oh, my dot. I kept thinking DOT, sorry. It's,
Yeah, my.arizona.vote.
so my, like dot, Arizona, dot, is it G-O-V?
vote.
V-O-T-E. Sorry, I wasn't prepared for that one. That came from, that was supposed to be a softball for my guy, too. Can you believe this?
Well, I got you here. I want to take the opportunity to say, like, you cannot deliver more than one ballot typically. There are very narrow justifications for delivering more than one ballot into a box. You could be a caretaker, maybe your spouse. It doesn't really extend much beyond that. So be familiar with the rules. You cannot deliver a handful of ballots. You certainly can't do it over and over again. If your spouse or a loved one has passed away and you still get their ballot, you cannot vote for them even though you think you know how they may have voted. It is illegal to cast that vote. Ensure that your signatures match what you signed on your registration form. If you want your vote to count, make sure that your signature matches that. These are all things that we're trying to be very cognizant of. These are places where we've seen real gaps and abilities to fraud the system, and we're trying to do the best we can to minimize that. I will tell you, there are laws against this. They have penalties associated with them. And if you are caught doing that and we catch it, we will hold you accountable. We will investigate it. We will submit that to the county attorney's office. We would love to avoid that, which is why I'm here telling you these are some of the pitfalls that people might fall into when it comes to voting. You cannot cast more than one ballot either. You can't send one in and come fill out another one. Those are all things that are illegal, and we're asking the public not to do those. Anything else?
Not sure I showed you these earlier, but again, the municipal-only ballot has the unusual orange band in the top left-hand corner. That is not what's normally found on the ballot. The case that it goes in, again, has the bright orange band. We've done everything in our power to make all of these clearly distinguishable. So you'll notice the consistent bright orange band on all of these. Put the right ballot in the right envelope, put the right envelope in the mail it in. Any further questions? Again, I genuinely want to take this opportunity to thank everybody for being here. I know you drove all the way down here for maybe a 10 or a 15-minute press conference. This is vitally important for our community. We have 500,000 people that live in our county. We have 200,000 people that are potentially impacted. So what you're doing is very helpful for the county, and I want to genuinely thank you on behalf of myself, our board, and our entire county for helping us get this message out. Thank you.